Finally. Good morning. Well, I'm up here on first this morning. The first principle. A principle is a law that never changes, and it applies to all people, everywhere, all the time. We take 2 plus 2 and we get 4. This is a mathematical principle. If we get an answer different from 4, then it's our mistake, not the principles. Spiritual principles work the same way. They are laws that govern all people all the time. We can learn them to take a great advantage. You've heard about the home team always has the best advantage when they're up to bat or in their own stadium. Why not use it? I touch my heart because we can take this home advantage. We can use what we are learning here at the Unity Center in the desert in our daily lives. I believe the 5 principles can be applied to any situation that shows up in our world. And I honor that everyone has a different perspective, part of being human, and I suggest that we work with these principles, test them, and apply them to our lives and see what happens. The 5 principles are tools for daily living. I personally love tools and gimmicks when it comes to daily living. The 5 principles offer us answers. What is this greater presence that we sense around us? How can we communicate with this presence? Who and what are we? Why do things happen in our lives the way they do? And what on earth are we here to do? We learn the secrets of life as we go, growing through our failures and successes. Spiritual laws are in effect for everyone, no favorites. So, mine is God is absolute good, everywhere present. When something goes wrong in our life, or someone pushes our button, the reason they got to us is simple. We get upset because what just happened did not fit into our plan. At that moment in time, we are given our power over to the situation. The universe is telling us this is the area of our life that we need to work on. It's truly a gift. Like Betty Bennett reminded us in her Easter talk, when someone rubs us the wrong way and we get upset, if they only knew what a gift they just gave us. We have become separated from our spiritual self, capital S in self. There's no power in anger. There's no power in fear. There's no power in depression or in lack. These are examples of error thinking. We're simply missing the mark. So, the solution, return to the first principle. Slip back into our Christ consciousness. God is absolute good, everywhere present. There is only one power and one presence, God. God is good without opposite. There is no other power. God is omnipotent, all power. God is omniscient, I can't say that word, all wisdom. God is omnipresent. There is no place that God is not. Since God is omnipresent, we cannot be separated from God. Oneness is our natural state. Namaste. I invite Lynn to come up and share her insights into Principle 2.
Well, what a time I've had getting ready to study Principle 2. And I really thank Judith because she hit every part of Principle 2 when she gave our opening prayer this morning. And then again, Dave did it during his prayer. So we have nothing to fear. Everything that we need from these principles is in us. And everything in us is in these principles. My principle is we are each individual eternal expressions of God. Our essential nature is divine and therefore inherently good. I've been thinking about this inherent goodness and what it means. The second principle reminds us that, like Jesus, we are also good, but we too often forget that we are divine. As Reverend Nettie Strauss from Unity of Tucson wrote in her blog, we are humans trying to become spiritual and have forgotten that we are already spirit, whole, perfect, complete. And Jesus is our way shower. He demonstrated what is possible when we live in awareness of our oneness, consciously and willingly aligned with our divinity. Reverend Nettie goes on to explain that in the beginning all was and still is good. But we have placed things outside the order of good. And this is what Cindy was just kind of saying in hers. There is no other out there doing bad things. There are only forgetful humans. We're doing the best we can. But sometimes that isn't a very high level of accomplishment, unfortunately. Because sometimes we act like a barnyard full of animals in the story about the rat trap. A rat looked through a crack in the wall and saw the farmer and his wife opening up a package. He discovered that it was a rat trap. Wasn't food, it was a rat trap. So he ran out to the barnyard and he ran up to the chicken and he said, "They've got a rat trap. They've got a rat trap." And the chicken, "Okay, a rat trap. Well, that isn't any of my concern because I don't live in the house, so I don't have to worry about a rat trap." So the rat ran to the pig. And he goes, "Pig, pig, there's a rat trap in the house. There's a rat trap in the house. Help me." And the pig said, "Well, I can pray for you." So the rat said, "Oh, that's a big help." And he went to the cow and he said, Miss Cow, there's a rat trap in the house. I'm so concerned about it. I'm so worried. What can I do?" "Oh, well, I'll think about it. And if there's anything you can think of that I can do for you, let me know." Oh. So the rat, very dejected and alone, went back to the house. That night, a sound was heard in the rat trap. The farmer's wife rushed in to see what had happened, not realizing that the trap had caught the tail of a very large snake, which reached up and bit her. The husband, the farmer, took her to the hospital. And they treated her, but they sent her home with a fever. Well, everyone knows that you treat a fever with chicken soup. So the farmer went out to the barnyard with his hatchet to get the soup's main ingredient. Her sickness continued, so all the neighbors came in to sit with her around the clock. So to feed all of these people who were helping, the farmer went out to the barnyard and butchered the pig. Things did not get any better. The wife died. To pay for the funeral expenses, the farmer sold the cow. So the next time someone comes to you with a problem, remember, when there's a rat trap in the house, it concerns all of us, no matter what we think. We are expressions of the divine in human form. Let's not be rats panicking. Let's not be chickens saying it's not our concern. Let's not be the pig who says, oh yes, I'll pray for you, and let it go at that. And let's not be the cow who says, well, call me if you need anything. Find what their need is and let's do it. I've been reading recently about Ananda Moyi Ma, who was known as Hansa when she was small because she was always smiling. She also was called the Blissful One and the Divine Mother. She gave up everything. She had no belongings, no home. She traveled all over doing inherent good for people. And one of her quotes, someone said about her, she never saw our shortcomings. She only saw our luminous aspects. And I thought how great that would be if we could start looking at other people and not see their shortcomings, but see only how they're shining. We may be a small body here at Unity, but we can make a rumble. Charles Fillmore said, there is divine good at the root of all existence. Let's find the roots. We can remember what we are. Yes, we're forgetful human beings, but we can try our best again and again to show our inherent goodness. Yesterday, as we left a store, the cashier, rather than reply to my thank you for all of your wonderful help, didn't just say, have a good day. She replied, you too enjoy all your blessings today. And I thought, wow, I'm so happy. And I thought, maybe I had a glow of inherent goodness shining from me. I can hope so. If not, I can try harder. But I really liked that. So will you affirm with me, please? I see divine goodness all around me. I contribute to the general good by my positive, loving thoughts, feelings, actions, and reactions. And let's be willing to take the actions which will increase the manifest good in the world. Be willing to act on what we are, not creatures who say, none of my concern, but a human being, forgetful sometimes, but always trying to have pure divine goodness, who says, tell me how I can do good for you. Namaste. And now coming up with Principle 3 is Ms. Parker Loomis. Welcome, Parker.
Thank you, Lynn. Well, now, that's a hard act to follow. I'm not going to do any sound effects for you guys. Will you do them for me? Okay. Principle 3 says, we are co-creators with God, creating reality with thoughts held in mind. It's written lots of different ways. Human beings create their experiences by the activity of their thinking. Everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. The chair you're sitting on, the clothes you're wearing, the car you got here in, started out as a thought somewhere, somehow, by somebody. We are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. And we create our life experiences through our way of thinking. Now, when I was preparing for this, I had a memory of, I saw this guy wearing a t-shirt one time. And it said, if you are what you eat, I must be fast, cheap, and easy. And so I got to thinking, well, okay, if my reality is what I think, if I had that shirt and it said my reality is what I think, I must think. And I was like, well, what's on my shirt? What does my shirt say? And so Charles Fillmore, I hope you guys packed a lunch because he had a lot to say about this. But the things that he said was that humankind is given authority and dominion over all ideas. So as humans, we are given authority and dominion. And individually, our dominion is over our own thoughts, emotions, and passions. So that's pretty powerful. We have dominion over that. He said this builds our world. The thinking faculty in humankind makes each person a free agent. That divine spark in us makes us a free agent. Because it is our creative center, in and through this one power, humankind establishes his or her consciousness, and he or she builds their world. Now, Buddha said it a little more succinctly. He said, what you think, you become. So, the universal law that this operates through is the law of mind, that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. So, that the interesting part for me in that is it said thoughts held, not thoughts fleeting, not thoughts random, or in my case, sometimes thoughts goofy or a little weird, but the thoughts that I held, the thoughts I hold. What do I repeat? What are the trends? What are the things that I'm thinking over and over? And those thoughts, they direct our experience of our reality. If you're expecting, it sets up our expectations and what you look for. It says, ask and you shall receive, seek and you'll find. What you're expecting, you'll generally get. Those thoughts that are deliberate, those thoughts that are intentional, are we creating our reality from those? Or are we creating our reality from thought habits that are based on beliefs and past experiences and family and society and community? They're just in there that we don't necessarily know. Are we doing it intentionally, or are we doing it through habit? Through through goofy, as sometimes mine is. In order to know that, we have to spend some time doing some work. Miss Kat's going to talk about the work part of that. But we have to spend some time doing some work. William James says that if you form a picture in your mind of what you'd like to see, and you keep and you hold that picture there long enough, you will soon become exactly as you have been thinking. And that leads to mastery. If our thinking creates the emotions and experiences we're having of our world. So, if your thinking is heading toward looking for positive and finding good, then you're going to have more positive experiences. And guess what? That's going to start not only creating your experience, but also the events. So, as we learn to master our thoughts, we impact our experiences of the world, and we begin to have an effect on events. Because we start to see the events we want to see. And maybe we don't see the ones we're not really looking for. Now, these ideas are meant to be used, these universal laws are meant to be used correctly. Our thoughts create our experiences, but we're not supposed to use that law to beat ourselves up or smack other people around, or that's not what it's set up. I mean, that would be the opposite of what it's trying to help you do. The creative use of it is to awaken our awareness, to wake us up so that we become positive creators and we generate positive experiences in our lives and in our world. Now, Eric Butterworth says, our mind is a kingdom. He said, your mind is your kingdom. It has no boundaries. Now, that's pretty awesome. It has no boundaries. The free flow of ideas and creativity is your inheritance. It is the wellspring that is inexhaustible. So we have the ability to co-create our world, to co-create our experiences. We do that by intentional, deliberate choosing of positive, empowering, affirming thoughts. Or we do that by default, by disempowering, negative. But either way, we're doing it. So, back to my original question. You all have a t-shirt. If your thoughts create your experience of reality, what's on your t-shirt? And now, I'd like to bring up Miss Nancy to talk about the fourth principle.
Good third principle. Thank you. Okay, let me get all spread out here and it's funny the way this morning that these 5 principles all seem to go together. Yeah. No, I'm not done yet. I'm going. And it seems like all of these principles have come together, you know. And I'm sure that with Kat's presentation, it'll all be, you know, one thing. 5 principles were broken down into 5 principles because I'm sure I can't grasp all of that in one bite. I have to take it down to each principle. And my principle is through prayer and meditation, which Kat will be talking about, we align our heart and mind with God. Denials and affirmations are the tools we use. And I'm going to be talking this morning about, which one do I push?
The one that looks like it's going to go the next, on the right side.
There we go. There is a power in affirmative prayer which we believe increases our connection to God, and it is within this connection that we place our prayers. Through affirmative prayer and meditation, I connect with God and bring out the good in my life. I read the affirmation, I say a prayer. I keep praying that affirmative prayer. I put that affirmative prayer up on my mirror, you know, so I see it every time I get up. I read my affirmative prayer as I'm brushing my teeth and doing all this other stuff, right? And affirmations, if you affirm that you want, and you continue to affirm that you want, and you pray toward that, and you keep your prayer actively going all the time, every day, keep that affirmative prayer going, and eventually God will work His work in your life, and you will get what you have asked for in some manner or another. Stay actively involved in your prayer practices by declaring your affirmations. Pray them over and over, and you get results. I read the affirmation, I say a prayer, and move on to listening for that still small voice to give me my answers and my reasons to go on. God has a great storehouse, and in it can be your God has a great storehouse, and in it can be yours. All in it can be yours if you pray for it. Open your heart to the abundance of all there is to have, from prosperity to health. From Emily Cady's Lessons in Truth, this is one of the classic series of Unity books. She talks about affirmative prayer. And she says, the beautiful presence all about us and within us is the substance of every good that we can possibly desire. Infinitely more good, more than we are capable of desiring for. No eye has heard, seen, no eyes don't hear, no eye has seen, no ear heard, nor the human heart conceived what God has prepared for those who love him. See the little star or the little heart in his eye? Yeah. There are 4 sweeping affirmations of truth that cover a multitude of lesser ones, which do marvelous work in bringing good to ourselves and to others. God is life, love, intelligence. God is life, love, intelligence, substance, omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. I am a child or a manifestation of God, and every moment his life, love, wisdom, and power flow in and through me. I am one with God, and I am governed by his law. 3, I am spirit, perfect, holy, harmonious. Nothing can hurt me or make me sick or afraid, for spirit is God, and God cannot be sick, hurt, or afraid. I manifest my real self through his body now. And 4, God works in me to will and do whatever he wishes me to do. He cannot fail. Thank you. And now Miss Kat Summerchild will come up here and wow us with some meditation. Thank you.
Good morning. While I'm getting all put together here. Okay, Principle 5. Through thoughts, words, and actions, we live the truth we know. And I'd be willing to bet we all don't have that down 100% yet. And we keep working on it. How many times do you think something and then go, you don't say it, and you try to erase that thought, but it was there, and you're thinking, uh-oh, truth in my thoughts. What am I thinking? What's the matter with me? Why haven't I gotten this down yet? So what do we do with these thoughts? Anais Nin said, I'll show you, I think. Yes. We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. A friend of mine recently, well, she's also my prayer partner, and we're very close friends. She moved to Florida about 5 years ago, but we still talk on the phone 2-3 times a week for hours at a time with one another. But she got hit by one of those hurricanes. Took the roof right off her mobile home. She lives on Social Security, gets $900 a month. She got $25,000 from FEMA, but $25,000 doesn't pay to have an old broken down trailer removed and a new one put on the property. And it just wasn't enough for her to do anything, and she couldn't get a loan because she doesn't make enough money for a loan. She's devastated. She's just so down. And for some reason, when we were talking, the thought flashed through my head, I have got to keep this up. I have got to keep her up. We are going to get through this. And so I started praying right then and there that God had this under control and God was going to take care of everything. And we were just going to sit back and watch, but she would do what few things she had to do to help God along. And we did this for about a month. And I talked with her earlier last week, if Sunday's a new week. A friend of hers from her AA group came over and said, this roof can be replaced. These floors can be replaced. She has enough money to pay for all the supplies. her AA folks, who are roofers and carpenters and whatnot, are donating their time. She's going to be back in her house. Positive power of prayer. So that's a wonderful story. But what about those negative thoughts that we get? Say you're walking in the mall and you see someone, maybe somebody who's obesely fat, and you zero in. You're in the mall. There's all kinds of things to look at, but you zero in. Why are you zeroing in? And what are the thoughts going through your mind? Oh, look at that poor person, how fat they are. Oh, look at that person in disgust. You know, what do your thoughts do? And how do you handle that? And not only those things, but other things too. I was in the grocery store shopping the other day, and a young woman with a small child, very attractive, nice-looking woman, started paying for her food with food stamps, and the woman next to me just instantly got all uptight because this woman was paying for her groceries with food stamps. Who knows her story? I certainly don't. I'm not going to judge this young woman paying with her groceries with food stamps. Maybe she works for $4 an hour and qualifies for food stamps and works 50 hours a week. I don't know. But I was really offended by the woman next to me going, and I wanted to say something, but unfortunately I didn't. Or maybe fortunately, I don't know which at the time. So we do get these negative thoughts, and we don't want them, and we do consciously, those of us who are aware, do consciously try to get rid of them. Some things that we can do, practical things that we can do with this kind of thinking is ask ourselves some questions. What good do I see here? If the overweight person, what beautiful eyes, what a nice smile, how pleasant, you know. Just look for the good. Just ignore what we perceive as negative, and how well she wears her clothes, how well he does this or that or whatever. Pay attention to those. Is this important to me? Must I dwell on this? Is it important to me? Why? If you want to go deeper into yourself, why do I need to focus on this? I'm in this beautiful mall with palm trees and millions of shops, and I'm sure a lot more people than the one I'm focusing on. Why do I need to focus on that? Go inside and look, and like Nancy's t-shirt, what's going on in here? Why am I doing that? And simply always think of being kind first. Think kind, do generous. We know how good it feels when we are kind and giving to others. We've all had that opportunity where you can give of yourself to others, and it just warms the cockles of your heart. Isn't that the expression? It feels so good. And of course, knowing me, you know I have to talk about meditation. Meditate. Just simply sit, be quiet, and be. And then just be you. Be a person of action, not reaction. Realize that the truth is you are a beloved and loving child of God. And in that realization alone, you will find your truth showing up in every thought, every word, and every action. Namaste.